Welcome back, Kansas City Underground.
Hello.
Timmy didn't give us anything.
Hi.
Hey, we're going back to our what we call it? Our series on introducing hubs.
It's not what we've called it once yet,
Oh,
but I like it.
what have you called it?
Not series on introducing hubs. That's a terrible title.
Well, we don't normally come up with anything very creative.
I would like to celebrate something else.
Okay.
That if you are watching this podcast, you are seeing a magnificent beard. Look at that.
Thank you, Corey.
Timmy Veith.
It's okay, Brian. You'll catch up someday.
I used to be at like the beard length was at least equal,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also far more transparent.
Yeah.
You can see through. It was gross.
But so I just want to celebrate that. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm sorry you are left out. We can describe it in detail.
Just imagine.
If that's helpful. Yeah.
You could just imagine.
We are continuing on the podcast series that we call the Introduction to the Kansas City Underground hubs. Yeah. So it's really, it's a
hub team introductions. Timmy, do you have anything more creative than that?
No, I'll workshop it for the rest of this episode, though, and I'll probably drop something right at the end.
And we'll actually have 2 other guests before this call is over.
We've never done that before. Like mid-episode, 2 people jump on. We might have some issues with it. We're going to experiment with it.
Yeah, it could be terrible.
Timmy, how many podcasts have you been on with Underground?
1 or 2, not very many.
If it's 1, then we'll welcome you back a second time. If it's 2, then you are a regular contributor.
Regular.
Okay, that's a very important difference between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
All right, so we are here with regular contributor Timmy Veith. Welcome, my friend. I'm glad you're here. So this is an interesting one because we've been highlighting these hubs and looking the ones throughout the city
in our series on introducing the hubs.
right, exactly. And so I imagine if I know Timmy well enough, he's probably chat GPTing a good name for this series as we speak. But it's an interesting one, Brian.
Tell us why, Corey.
Because, thank you for asking, because the Western Edge Hub in some ways is kind of the, it's the OG.
We should tell people that today we're introducing the Western Edge Hub of the Kansas City Underground.
We're talking about this hub that was like before we had multiple hubs, we just called this thing Kansas City Underground, which functioned like a 1 part missions organization, 1 part network of multiplying disciples and churches. And so we've kind of formalized that over the years. We called this thing a hub. And then we've seen, hubs need to be a little more hyper local, have a little more focus. And so now we're just kind of multiplying hubs throughout the city to multiply more disciple makers, more micro churches. So with that, we had this transition, right, guys? We were like the original team. And then we're like, okay, we can't be the mothership.
Yeah.
Right. We're decentralized. We kind of had to create a new team, which we call a very, very creative, the hub support team.
Hello.
Very creative people.
It was more creative with the original idea.
That's
Thank
true.
you very much.
The hubbub.
The hubbub.
The hub of hubs. What happened? That just kind of died a natural death.
Well, I think that at some point I was like, people are going to laugh at us if we
That's
use
a good
this
thing.
name.
So just so you guys this is a long, boring introduction to say we kind of created a new team that supports all the hubs. So kind of like fractal multiplication of supporting teams. And the Western Edge, which used to be called Shawnee, on the western suburbs of Kansas City, we just kind of lumped it in this big kind of cool. I like that name, the Western Edge.
It does represent Piper down to Gardner,
Mm-hmm.
and including Overland Park and Lenexa and Basel, DeSoto. Yeah,
it is. It covers a large geographic
City,
area.
Baldwin City.
I mean, all the way almost
Lawrence,
to, right? Yeah, so really Lawrence, which is.
And basically, the Western Edge coaches disciple-making leaders and microchurches in any one of those geographies that I just mentioned.
Yeah,
it's like we represent the Western Edge. But the cool thing is, very soon, we will be interviewing the Gardner Hub team.
Oh, heck yeah, man!
Because Western Edge is still too big, and part of the multiplication is to identify, we can't effectively coach that big of an area. We can do it for a season, but eventually we'll need to go multiply hubs in this part of the city as well. So, were you about to say something else?
I was just saying it's unique because because we've told the story of the origins of Underground.
Yeah, we have
and so if
origin
you
stories.
ever want to just, hey, I'm bored, I want to listen to more of Brian talking, then go to some old podcast, maybe a year or two ago. Who knows?
We've probably done it a couple of times, actually.
Yeah, the origins of Underground. So we're not going to really dwell too much on the origin. We might reference some like early starting point stuff, but I think I want to focus on what are we doing now.
Yeah.
And here, Timmy, and oh my goodness gracious, Robert Wagner. Rob is in the house.
Woo! Michelle's
Wow.
about to be here too.
We've never had mid podcast guests come in, and we're just celebrating.
We're so excited about how it just flowed in like that.
And we're not going to tell you.
You have arrived.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you what we've already talked about.
Remember when we had our big launch service? That was amazing. And then that was when we rolled out the smoke machine.
And I
this
think
is fantastic.
And we sent mailers to everybody.
You know what? Like
it's feisty.
If we record in Zoom, then I have the power to mute him. But like, oh wait, look at that! I do have the power to mute him.
So glad you're here, Rob. You are not allowed to talk. No, okay. So Rob, you're gonna just have to pick this up as we go because we're not going to give everyone else the same introduction.
Well, we should wait if Michelle is about to pop in.
Why? It's going to be more fun. We keep adding more and more. It's going to be a blast.
Oh, I know, but I was just thinking we could really dive into the meat of this.
Well, exactly.
But after Michelle pops in. Hey, can we do this real quick?
Stall? We're stalling, aren't we?
No, I was going to say we can just do some quick introductions because what we've done with each of these episodes is wait until about 7 minutes in where we are now and say, hey, like if you had 90 seconds to sort of introduce who you are as a hub director on one of these teams, do that. And then Michelle can pop in and introduce herself too. So Timmy, you have like 90 seconds to introduce yourself. Who is Timmy, and how is he a part of the Western Edge Hub?
Yeah, I am Timmy. I came in to the Kansas City Underground at its inception, but came on as a hub director about a year later. And during that OG season, so I oversee then and now as part of that hub support team. I oversee the finances and some of the operations for the overall organization and the Western Edge Hub team, and one of the voices there. So help in that way still with the finances, to consider how our team's made up. I'm a teacher prophet with an Apex gift mix. I think that's worth bringing to mind. And my wife and I and our 2 daughters, we live in the East Shawnee part of town. We're really near kind of the origin of the Underground. We are planting the gospel amongst the neighborhood that we're in. The parents of our daughter's friends from school, getting connected. I come out of food service, 20 years in food service in Kansas City, so I have a real heart for the hospitality industry, and there's kind of a lot of deep and long roots there as well for some disciple making and gospel planting. That's just trying to fan the flame of that stuff where I can.
That's awesome, dude.
And a beautiful beard.
Thank
and
you.
A beautiful family. A bunch of ladies.
Better than me, yes. Better looking than me.
And some great memories at the Whitehaven Motor Lodge.
That's a Kansas City thing.
Mm-hmm. KC.
And remember, the vast majority of our listeners do not have video. So there's a
they should, though.
Timmy that says that in case you're wondering. All right. Rob Wagner. 90 seconds. What about you, bro?
Rob Wagner. And I live in West Shawnee. Wait, here's Michelle.
Yeah!
Michelle!
Oh.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
We're just doing 90-second stories, Michelle, of who you are and hub director. How did you find yourself in this role?
Western Edge team.
Got it.
All right, hit it, Rob.
Yeah. Was here from the beginning too, and we have been here in City View Farms for. I moved to Kansas City about 11 years ago, and we have an extended spiritual family that is here in our neighborhood that we're just so glad to be a part of that's emerged and continues to grow and is like there's a lot more of heaven in our neighborhood now, and it's
Mm.
really awesome. And
Mm.
and then on the hub support team right now, I'm helping like cultivate equipping and trying to help the hub directors think about that across the city. And yeah, I love trying to love and support the hub directors too, and feel a fatherly affection for all of them. And yeah. Really look forward to telling the story today. Glad to be here.
Okay. All right. I don't want to immediately jump to Michelle. I feel like that's probably part of the story of your life where people are like, hey, Rob, you talk. All right, now, Michelle, you get to add things. So I'm going to go, and then you can get to be your own person. How about
That's
that?
wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think all of us can say we've been here since the beginning. Corey and I have got to tell our stories probably multiple times through the years. So I am like Western Shawnee as well, near Rob and Michelle, doing the same thing. Like, what does it mean to see the gospel planted in a neighborhood, Hillcrest Farm, love our neighbors well, make our neighborhood look more like heaven than it did before. Kristen is my wife, 5 kids. They're all over the place. And yeah, so as far as role on the team, I don't know that I ever had a very specific role. It was sort of like Johnny on the spot. That's what I say. What isn't being done? Who needs help? Let's jump into places. Sometimes I described it as like air traffic control. Try to remember who's going where, who's doing what, and make sure that the planes don't run into each other. Which, yeah, too soon.
Yeah.
Sorry about that one.
Different analogy.
Yeah, I used to say that all the time, and now I don't feel like I
Yeah.
can use that one anymore.
Okay.
Anyway, Corey.
Been here since the beginning. I was actually, so a lot of these guys were connected at a large church in the western part of the city. I was the weird missions disciple guy at a different church more in the south part of the city. So we find ourselves, we hang out, and we are doing similar things, and God brought us all together. But a lot of my world was different part of the city. So I started hanging out more in the western edge. But yeah, our neighborhood, I had a lot of work early on amongst jails and prisons, and the outside of those, we've since in the last handful of years seen some really cool stuff in our neck of the woods with friends in our elementary school families. We have a bunch of families now, regular gathering, discovering and following Jesus. And my role has always kind of been like getting stuff started, dreaming, joining, connecting dots in the city, get out there, hanging out. Where's God at work, and who's he raising up, and both from the harvest, but also like, different leaders. So yeah, my role throughout the years has, started with at Western Edge, and I still, that's still the hub that my wife and I and our family have the rhythms of connection. But I have less day-to-day leadership in that hub, and more kind of in the hub support team and some of the other emerging hubs in the city. So yeah, but we've been there since the beginning, trying to figure this thing out. And
Last
love
6 years.
Yeah.
All right, Michelle, who are you?
I'm Michelle. And yes, way back at the beginning, I remember Rob talking about this Corey Oozebum guy.
Yep, that's me.
And getting together with he and Suze, his wife, for the first time was just really, really special. And it was immediate connection with them. And we learned that was not their last name.
My wife walked away, a very discerning person, and said, we are supposed to be with him.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it immediately. And that was the first time I ever met you guys. And we were already in 100%, but it was just really neat to find, people are of such similar heart and passion. My role from the beginning has been director of spiritual formation, which has meant a lot of different things early on, doing like personal, what do we call those? Personal
discovery.
discovery. It's been a while. Yeah. So we did that with 100 and something people, which is why I'm probably blocking it out of my mind because it was a little, but it was great to get to know literally every person and what they're good at. And so I have developed a Soul Care 101 course, which I've taught many times over the last few years, and spiritual mentor to a couple women. And since we've done our redevelopment of our team, I am a part of Corey's team now, and my role is the beauty coordinator. So I'm almost finished with my doctorate, and I've been studying the ways that God uses beauty to draw us to himself. So we're incorporating all of that into the underground. And yes, part of our microchurch in our neighborhood, which has been really a neat thing too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we sort of teased this a little bit earlier, but for Michelle and for Rob coming in, what we said is we'll do less of the whole origin of the underground story because we've done that before. Not that we can't tell some things, but sort of like what's happening right now with our team and just what we're exploring. We said that we represent everything from like Piper down to Gardner and then out west. So it's probably like 2 years ago, about right now, when I walked into an operations team meeting and I said, our team needs to die.
That was very encouraging. I remember that very clearly.
And we need to develop something else that we now call that hub support team that we have different roles in. And then our hub needs to reemerge. And I remember like the first response was, we need to die? And I learned something that day. If you want people to buy into an idea, don't lead in with "we should die." This is
I don't know. Jesus did that.
Oh, that's true. Thank you, Corey. This is a good point.
He didn't have a lot of followers at the time,
Right.
but it really took root later.
Okay.
You know what? He should have followed up with, and y'all need to drink my blood, by the way, and eat my body.
What if I had done that? I think you might have asked me to leave, actually.
Yeah, probably.
But where else will I go?
That's true.
We can do this all day.
All right, so let's get back into the story. So we're trying to tell the story of, like we've been asking these other teams, what's the flavor of the Western Edge? What do you bring to this city network? What's unique about us? I'm trying to think of different ways to ask, and I'd love for any of you to just jump in and go, yeah, we're that Western Edge team. This is what is unique. This is what I love about when we get together with our people, whatever. Any thought? Like, I'm just saying our interview is going to be a little different because we're a different, like we've just had a different journey than most of these other hubs have had. It's been easier to go, how'd you start? How'd you connect? What do you do now? And we might need to tell a little bit more stories about.
Yeah.
We did reemerge. What's happening? Does anything come to mind?
I'll share one thing. One of the things I love about the Western Edge crew is they were the first hub. There were 72 disciple makers, and there is a sense of like just total surrender to Jesus and openness to risk, adaptability, and a sense of generosity. Like the way that they have rolled with constant change, and the way they think about not just our hub, but the entire network all the time, I think is pretty unique. Like they're not just thinking about Western Edge. I think they carry a burden for the whole city, like gospel flourishing. That just makes me love them. Like in a way, I'm like, y'all are just amazing. Because it's easy as a disciple maker or a microchurch leader to just like so get into the jam of like your particular people in place because you love them so much. And they do have that, but then they also carry this larger burden for the city that just seems really special. So that's one thing I really appreciate about the Western Edge. They seem to carry that all the time. Like they just don't forget that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a trendsetterness. You know, we've a lot of these people have been around from the beginning. There's also a lot of newness.
That's
You know,
true.
like so we launched, yeah, like you said, 72, and I mean those are people that were all those early stories that we're telling, ordinary people making disciples. But there are a lot of people who like, you know, this was such a giant experiment. And you know, it was hard, and some people really endured, and other people's like, you know, had to move on and do different things. And so what I saw on this team is, you know, COVID came, we saw all that fruit. Then we also had to pivot, and we met online for a long time and lost some momentum, and then redid this, and then tried this, and experimented with this. But in that, we're like there's been things sponsored by Western Edge or launched from Western Edge people, like Street Church. You know, it's like, is that the Western Edge? No, but there's people, you know, the deeply connected that are, you know, ministering, making disciples among homeless populations. And there's, supported Share the Hope for a long time, supporting Awaken, what we're doing with young adults. A lot, you know, this is stuff that's kind of sponsored by, or, hey, we're your default hub, you know, to launch this new thing in this new part of the city. And you're right. There's a group of people that are all in. You know, and that's really fun. Like there's not a ton of translation that has to happen.
Right.
You know, like our training and equipping, it's like, no, they get it. They get planting the gospel, they get movement, they get disciple making, they get microchurch. It's like, so we got kind of a seasoned crew of people running together, which is fun and unique.
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing, that with the Western Edge people, I have never felt like I had to convince anybody to join this journey. They're already 100% bought in from the beginning, which is, I think, unusual as far as my ministry experience in the past. You know, it sometimes takes time to help people on board and adjust, but they're all a little bit crazy and fun. And it's been very joyful too. As I look back, I've never had a season of ministry that was more joyful. And a lot of it has to do with you all, your families, and the original Western Edge crew.
I think some of that has to do too with how we took 5 or 6 months to scare people away.
Yes, exactly.
Scare people
away.
Seriously?
Yeah. Seriously. Part of our journey is like, yeah, you know what you're getting into. You're not going to be led in worship by Brian. Right. You're not going to be taught by Rob. And I mean, we said that a lot. So, yeah, we scared people away to make sure that the ones that stuck around, and they got it.
And we told them all they'd have to eat Brian's body and drink his blood. Remember that?
All right, Kenny, anything else is like coming to mind for you?
Yeah, I wrote a couple things down. I think, you know, what everybody said so far, like that the bravery and courage to step out and do something that felt and was so different from what we were all familiar with. And that like this hub has kind of existed as a prototype for a lot of new ideas and skunk works along the way. And I appreciate like everyone's kind of willingness to like just try new things and just continue to iterate and ideate on what we've done, all in the name of just like chasing after Jesus. And there's like just been a real great, I mean, like you said, it's 6 years. Like there's just deep love and attachment to this family. Both like the 5 of us here on the call and the others not present, but like the 72 at large that has only grown, and we've seen such beautiful fruit and depth of relationship with. Like I just have an attachment and a love for this family.
Yeah, it'd be inappropriate not to mention the fact that we're missing Bree, who is an amazing part of our story, developing coaching networks for our hub, but also, you know, beginning to help other networks or other hubs in our network develop their coaching pathways. It's like I feel this, you know, something that I want to be careful how I say this, because I don't want it to come across like I could just delete it later, I suppose.
Are you breaking up with us?
No. This sense of when we ask what's a unique flavor that you sort of bring to the network, this is not to be taken like arrogantly or like we don't, it's a sense of like mothering and fathering though.
Yeah.
Where like what I hear from y'all saying, Timmy mentioned the skunk works, Michelle was mentioning, exploring this, using this doctoral work to highlight beauty and how God draws us to himself through beauty. You mentioned awaken coming out of this. It's like we do our best not to own any of that.
Right.
But to also go, but we want to cultivate it and create space for it to grow up and mature and become something that would benefit everyone. So, like, I do think that's a gift that we try to give away. I'm just curious what y'all think about that. Like, does it sit well with you? Is there another way to say it?
No, I think you said it very well. I think we've gotten to the point where, like you said, Brian, early on, like we're all doing everything because we had to. Everyone had a hand in everything that was happening. But now, as we're growing up, we're kind of growing into our own. But it's collective, and it's a beautiful example of what family is. Encouraging one another and giving the gifts that we have to the rest of the family and having that support. It's really been fun.
Yeah.
I do think there's, the Western Edge has been also like we're a curator of the DNA and culture. And now that's a shared responsibility, across the network with all the hubs. But there is a sort of, because we were first, there is a unique role in that. And it's part of like our sort of apostolic role. There's a certain seeding and guardianship of that. And I think we try to do that in a very collaborative way. And I also think part of that apostolic role is we're very, we all play we kind of play a role of being catalytic, like there's a lot of, I think people feel a sense of permission throughout the network that has come from our posture. And that is there because of by the work of the Holy Spirit to the glory of God. You know what I mean? That was there in the beginning. And then I think the thing that it's like the most important thing is just our obsession with knowing and loving Jesus, like that constant radical, like we want him more than anything. We want this culture of continuous metanoia, like everything else is rubbish. And I see that in all of you. I feel that in you every time I'm with you. And those are the things that matter most, like in the underground. And that I feel that in the Western Edge hub, like that's part of our grace, as a hub.
Yeah, that's good. Timmy, any other?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I was just going to say, we also can say all of that very humbly because we have made all of the mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally all of them. And many more to come. And hopefully we can help other people not make those mistakes or share with them what we've learned from all of that.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the grace of God and the grace of each other and our greater family as we have fumbled our way through some of this at times.
Yeah,
I think that Michelle, you said something that we have like begun to own or step into our own unique
Mhm.
identity a little bit more. Like there was a
Right.
sense of like, we're all doing everything, and that was right for a season. And there's like this lightweight work now that, right, like light yoke, easy work that has come from not trying to be everything to everyone, but be just what like the Western Edge Hub is called to be, and to be just what
Right.
Yeah.
Corey and Bree and Brian and Rob and Michelle and myself are meant to be within that team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were also kind of the choke point 2 years ago. Like we really were the problem
Sure.
Sure.
on the network. Like we were slowing things down because we were trying to be too much.
Trying to do
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian said we had to die,
And then we all died.
and we died. I mean, to that point, you know, like there is a really cool DNA of, you know, like none of us are the person in charge.
Right.
And so that's something that's like really non-Western, or, you know, it's like, or at least the paradigm of church, but like we really, like, depending on who you know in the city, people don't know who's in charge, and that's a good thing. We have to fight for it, but it has taken intentional laying down, like Brian Johnson saying, hey, we need to die, you know, and like literally, hey, if we have job descriptions, we're going to put it all on the table, you know, and to start from scratch.
Mhm.
And a lot of us at this table, or at this call, all of us hold, you know, dual roles, or, you know, hub leader in this hub and also on the hub support team. Right. And I think that's cool about going back to that DNA, but there's just this shared collective DNA that's, I think a lot of it has trickled from this original experiment, you know, and hope, and like, hey, we're going to lay it all down for the sake of this city, you know, and we're going to, whatever it takes. And we've stumbled upon, because I think the grace of God and the I don't know, the mantle that he's kind of put on, I think, on this team has been, like training and equipping and discovering this, and like kind of forming this thing that seemed to be impossible to form.
Mhm.
And then we've leaned it up over the years. And it's like, what did we cut out? You know, we talked about that, Michelle, what you earlier, of like, you know, hey, we went through this long personal discovery with every single person. And now
Right.
figuring out ways to mobilize people faster or leaner, or what's the bare thing that needs to be the core essence that needs to be when we multiply a hub or whatever. So, I mean, we can go into more details, but maybe, I mean, we're 32 minutes in this I don't know, this podcast. It just feels like maybe that's where we can throw, hey, are there any final thoughts with this, right? Like maybe a story that's happening right now, or something we want to celebrate as a hub. And I know, Brian, you might have to jump off, right?
Yeah, I'm probably going to disappear from the screen. But the one thing I would say before you guys do those final stories is it was cool to hear you go like, yeah, we were like willing to lay it down. And I was like, yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if we need to go to that place again, like we'll do it again.
It's cool.
So yeah, I hate I'm going to miss the end. I know this is a super weird podcast with people coming in. And people
I know. I got to go too. I got a news.
This is who we are as the, you know what, we'll just wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Michelle,
Let's do
Timmy,
that.
thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Bree, we miss you.
Yeah, Bree.
Bree-
Wish you were here, Bree. It's not the same without you.
For all of those that listen to this and watch this, also, we just want to say, yeah, this is like a flavor of the Western Edge.
This is it.
This is what family feels like.
All right. See y'all.
All right. Bye-bye.